Okay, so this is the game of Eylau. This is the initial setup. Let me just take a moment here. I have this variant, Expanded Simplicity. I'm not going to use it. I've never liked it. It's, trying to, it almost makes it into Ney versus Wellington type game. It tries to add some things. It adds specific cav movement to the game. It adds disruptions to the game. It starts doing strength casualty markers. It's still, though, a very, very light version. Where's 34? And oddly, I leave part of the rules out. I ripped this out of, I don't know if this was a moves or an actual S&T. I think it came from a moves. I had 1 year of moves, and that was not a great deal. It didn't have the historical analysis that S&T did, and it didn't have the game. And you're paying the same price for, like, game analysis, which I found terribly boring. The only thing it had was some reviews and stuff, which would be more important to me now. And I don't think it's worth the $2 or whatever. Okay, so what's special about this particular scenario? Well, in this case, first of all, there's some specific rules on specific units, which is at the beginning of this battle, the Russians weren't terribly prepared for the attack, and the French are not allowed to use the guard. So the French are not allowed to move the guard for the first two games of the first two turns of the game, and the Russians are only allowed to move the Ostermann division (OST), which is up front. It's quite large too. In the first turn of the game, and then that and one other division on the second turn. In addition to that, divisions have a shift in play, which is if more than one unit of the same division is attacking in the same combat, they get 2 extra strength points. Or if 3 or more units are in the same combat, you're allowed to, instead of that, take a column shift in your favor for the attack. Now, it's only when you're attacking. If for some reason, and this is very seldom, one unit is attacking 2 of your units, you don't get that on defense. There's also divisional fresh strength markers. Some of these units have not been used much in the campaign. And they come with these little markers, which are additional strength that you can add to a unit of that division once in the game. And you just get those extra strength points one time only, and you can flip them over as desired during a battle. Once used, they're out of the game. They can only affect one unit of one division once. Okay, the weather in Eylau was terrible. We're talking here February, and we're not far from Russia. It's cold. There's snow. Some of the times troops were firing at friendly troops. Horrible things were happening. To simulate some of that, at each combat, now this is a completely optional rule, but we're going to play with it because to me it's one of the things that this particular game adds is this randomness. It may or may not be pleasing to some players, but it's one of the few things that kind of adds to this game for me. If you roll a 5 after the combat, any retreat result turns into an elimination result. Wow, that's bad, you know? I mean, retreats can happen pretty easily. Eliminations are tougher. On a roll of a 6, it changes which player is affected. So you could be totally outnumbered, doing a soak-off attack, get an attacker eliminated, and wipe out all the defending units somehow. This is the kind of thing that makes people not want to play with this, and I agree, that's pretty ridiculous. I've seen some bad things happen. I don't think I've seen it that bad. 1 through 4 leaves the result the same. If there's an equal elimination, you don't worry about the roll of the die. Why it matters whether you get a 5 or a 6? Yeah, it does. Okay. Because an attack or retreat could become a defender retreat, right? Okay. How do you win? You win by killing stuff, mainly. You get 1 victory point for every enemy strength point that you kill. So bigger units are worth more. And if the French player has killed at least 75 allied strength points, he gets a bonus 15 victory points for making it a big battle. If the allied player kills at least 75 French victory strength points, and at least once the French guard has been involved in a battle, then the allies get that 15-point bonus too. So if it's a big, heavy fight, chances are both sides are going to get that. Nobody's going to get the advantage. But the French cannot commit the guard and prevent the allies from getting that advantage, which is kind of a cool thing. Of course, the guard units are very potent. They're sitting back here, not the cav, but at 9-point infantry units, they're strong. You kind of might want them. You also get 5 victory points for each of the Eylau hexes that you control at the end of the game. You're the last person to have passed through them. I made little markers because, well, back in the time when I had this game, I didn't have many games and I wanted to support it fully and make them. I wouldn't bother now, but I definitely was more interested in, hey, there should be some at that point. Then you determine how well you win. I mean, having more points is how you win, but you need at least 15 to get a marginal victory in this. Anything less than that, hey, it's so unimportant. You're just counting points at that point. 30 for substantial, 45 or more for decisive. And we'll kick this off. Who goes first? Good question. The French player goes first, which makes sense. All right, so, hey, why don't I show you a little bit of the movement? So, here really the idea is to try to come up with some good attacks, right? And I want to use my forces effectively. I'm not going to be able to get very far. Towns here only cost 1 movement point. Oh, there's blocking of bombardment. Some hexes are high enough, towns, woods, etc., that you can't fire through them with your artillery. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4. This is as far as I can get. Let's move this division. Now I'm going to tilt these units a little bit. It's not really cheating, but just to remind me that I've moved them. That can get to be an issue at sometimes. Okay, well, now I got another unit. And I can't go any further here. If we look at the terrain chart, this stuff here are frozen lakes. And they're listed here somewhere as having no effect on movement, zone of control, or combat. Cool, huh? Okay. So here I've set myself up so that I have 8 to 2 plus 2 if I get that bonus 10 to 2. I'll be on the 5 to 1 chart. That's pretty good. I could push that up higher to the 6 to 1 by throwing this one in. I may want to do that. It depends on how much else I'm going to be able to get. I'm going to move the rest of my units and show you what the line looks like so as to save some of the video space. Okay, so here's my placement, and I've got Murat's cavalry not quite engaging. They could have pushed things up to what? I don't remember who that is. Tuttlemire or something like that. King Tut's cavalry. I've got Lev's infantry, or Levi's infantry, in place here, moving to help support that whole flank. Now this is kind of a risky unit. This one could be in danger if it weren't for the option for the rule that says only Ost can be used on the first turn. I've grabbed Eylau with the with DES units. I don't remember the divisional commanders here. The leg units have moved up, and now they had kind of a hard choice, which is I want this big unit to fight the OST unit. That will give me 2 to 1. 2 to 1's not great, but I want that kind of odds to have a chance of staying where I've gotten to. But if I do that, well, then I had to move another division up to handle this, and I did that with these. I probably shouldn't have moved up to here. In fact, I'm gonna not move there. Yeah. I know some people don't like that. Because that gives me 11 to 2, 5 to 1, which is good odds, and I don't really want to take this on right now. It's kind of a mixed infantry cav force here, huh? The TUT units. Okay. With DES, I'm combining these to get here. I'd love to be able to throw this artillery in, but I can't because I've got the city blocking my artillery shots. So the artillery is going to have to fire at this, which means I have like 9 to 1 on this. So I'll be throwing the STH unit against Osterman here. Now, with the advanced rules, Cav would be able to withdraw and all kind of cool stuff like that. Let's take a look at what the combat's going to be like, and let's just roll a couple of these out and see what happens. So let's take this one. I've got 12. I didn't get any artillery up. To 2, it's 6 to 1. I'll roll over here on the chart, and I got a big 2. That's defender eliminated. Now, on a 5 or a 6, something bad could happen, though. It doesn't. So the OST unit is now in my dead pile, and this is something I didn't mention. There's an advance after combat, which I'll make with one of my units. Cool. All right. Let's go to this one. I've got 9 to 1. Same situation. I'm on that far chart. I've actually got more than that. I've got 11 to 1 because I've got 2 units of the same. I had bonuses here as well. But most is most. That's a defender eliminated. And again, I got to roll for the weather. No problem. The Ost unit is gone. And again, I advance. Do I have to advance? That's a good question. Because I may not want to, except to pin enemy units. And I don't need to pin enemy units everywhere. So let's see about advance after combat in particular. It's a May. Cool. In some games you must advance after combat. Usually not games with a lot of firepower in them. So here I've got 12 to 5. That gives me 2 to 1. So I'll roll on the table for that. I get a 3. That's a defender retreat. This unit has to retreat. Now here's the question. Do I want to advance here? If I did, I'd be forcing Ost to only retreat here. But I'm giving up the defensive position of the city, which is actually somewhat valuable. It's doubling. I'd rather not give that up. I'm not going to advance. And here I have 11 to 2. Oh, I didn't check the weather, did I? Okay, we're fine. Here I have 11 to 2, which is 5 to 1. But I have plus 2 because I've got 2 units of the same type, of the same division. So to make that 13 to 2, it's 6 to 1. I get a 1, that's a defender eliminated, and now I roll for the weather. No effect, and this unit's destroyed. Do I want to advance here? I think so, because it's going to force Ost to attack me. He has to fight if I do that location there. Now, I may have kind of wanted this too, knowing that, but that's okay. I can live with it. If he wants to move forward and get more force on this unit, he's got to work a little harder. All right, so that's the French turn here. I'm going to take a pause because I'm kind of pooped, but it's time for the Russian turn. Okay, now after a little drink, just some grapefruit juice, we're looking at the Russians' options, and they've got some real problems. They've got to attack here and here. They can't get out of there. They're stuck. It's like flypaper. They're only allowed to move their Ost units, so all they have is this. Now, Ost is looking weak very quickly. And unfortunately, they don't have a fresh strength marker. So they can't help themselves. All right, well, here's the problem. I got 1 to 1 attacking here. I got 1 to 2 attacking here. I can do this, though. 1, 2, 3. And I can get 2 to 1 on leg. Well, does Leg want that to happen? Leg doesn't have an option because they don't have a fresh strength marker either. And it's actually not just 12 here, it's 14 because I've got 2 units there. So now I'm at 2-1 against the Leg unit, and I don't have anything else I can move. I can only move my Osts, and I've moved all of what's left. The rest are in the dead pile there. So 2-1 there. I get a defender retreat, but I got a 5. I think that's a defender eliminated, actually, right? I think 5 turns retreats to eliminates. It does. So that's a big unit that went away. Now here's the question, do I want to advance? Because if I do, I'm kind of exposing a unit. And my answer is no. I think the French are going to keep attacking, and I don't want to give them kind of a rougher surface that's easier to hit. Now here I've got more of a problem. Here it's 1-1. And on the 1-1 chart, and yes, I'm not going to cover things in this much detail normally. 1-1 I get an attack or retreat. Now with a 5 here I'd be dead. But instead, I'm just retreating, and I'm allowed to. Can the defender advance? Well, the defender doesn't want to advance, even if they can. Here's why. All it does is limits my options. I'll be able to move to that hex anyway, and I'll be in a zone of control. We're going to move this turn 2, and there are still movement restrictions. The guard can't move, and the Russians are only going to get a second division in addition to Ost. I'm going to load this one up and come back.